most important things that any nation can do for its own development, for its own well-being, is to improve the development and improve the well-being of women. As women get educated, as women get empowered, as women take more and more decisions into their hands, this has been the case in country after country, its overall impact on development is massive. Women, of course, 50% of the population, and in India, it's a very strange sort of a situation that we often see, that while there is gender discrimination in many parts of the country, and something that we must continue to fight again, there are so many wonderful women of worth, women of substance, who have made a massive impact on their own lives, on the lives of the people around them, and on the development and the fate of this nation. And that's really what this is all about. L'Oreal Paris and NDTV are coming together to honor and to take note of some of the contributions that some of these women of worth have actually been making. And we are essentially today going to be taking you through some of the nominees that we have got in 8 different categories. And then going forward, of course, the actual award ceremony will be there as we actually pay tribute to some of these wonderful, wonderful women. But before I go any further, let me invite onto the stage our partners, Manshi Guha, who's the Vice President Marketing L'Oreal in L'Oreal India. Great to have you with us.
Thanks everyone. It's actually a moment of pride for us. We've been working on Women of Worth in India for about 5 years, and it's with great pride that we partner with NDTV this year, because I think you're a huge media house who's been renowned for bringing women to the forefront, so it's fantastic.
Actually, perhaps you should have been introducing us onto the stage, actually, the way you've been doing this for such a long time and such marvelous work.
Sure. Thank you. We're very happy to do this, and I can tell you the last 3 hours have been spent very fruitfully with an awesome panel, and we've had such amazing discussions on women and great topics. And it's great as we kickstart this year. To talk a little more about this, I'd like to invite Sonam. Sonam is a woman who definitely speaks her mind, and she has a point of view on everything. And she also has a heart of gold. So it's great to have her, and we hope to kickstart this, this whole program this year with this press conference. Thank you.
And as Sonam comes on, or just before she comes on, let's just show people some of the work that has actually been done in this entire area. Let's quickly take a look at some of the work that has been done already in this area. And let's now invite on the stage Sonam Kapoor. Why has this been a cause that's been particularly close to your heart? Mike, there you go. I'd stolen it.
Well, honestly, I've been associated with Women of Worth Awards since the very beginning, very beginning. And it's something that's really matters to me, because I've always stated that I'm a feminist. I'm not embarrassed to say it at all. And I've been saying it since I was 21 years old, since I joined this industry. And when L'Oreal came to me and said that they're doing this, I was like, well, now I truly feel like I'm worth it. When I am associated with something that actually celebrates women who are impacting society in such a positive way, especially in India. And I think it's absolutely brilliant that we are doing this, and I'm so excited that you guys have decided to partner with us. Right. And the platforms just become larger. The show is going to be much larger. I feel these women need the recognition to get inspired to do better work, and I hope by giving, I honestly think awards give you validation. I get very excited when I'm nominated or I get an award, no matter what the controversies are surrounding award giving and stuff like that. I get excited because I feel I get validation for the work I do.
Right.
And it also encourages me to work harder when somebody else gets the award.
So here's what we're going to do, and there is a difference and there's a change. So
yes.
The jury has been working on finalizing the nominees all morning. And there's a surprise.
What?
You have no idea who the nominees
No,
are.
I don't know.
I have no idea who the nominees
This is the first time. This is the 5th year they've not told me.
So what we're doing is we're going to be inviting up the jury right now.
Yes.
And they are going to be telling us the nominees in real time as they were. And we'll find out. And then let's try and educate ourselves also as to each of the nominees and why they were actually nominated.
Before you go ahead with calling the jury members, I would like to also talk about the categories before they come in and educate us on who the nominees are. I'm very excited to know who they are. So we have 8 categories and there'll be 4 nominees. The categories are social impact, women who have made breakthrough interventions in grassroots development, education, women who have strengthened our education system with new ideas, engaging techniques and learning networks. This is very close to my heart, by the way. The originals, which is science and innovation, then game changers, business and entrepreneurship, then eco-revolutionists, there's environment, there's literature, there's art, there's sports. That's brilliant. So I think I'm very excited about knowing who these amazing women are.
Right, so let's start. Let's kick off straight away by calling the jury onto the stage. So let me start by calling Blinda Wright, Executive Director, Wildlife Protection Society of India. Blinda, you've been working with us. To also welcome, joining us from Pune, another one of our jury members, Anu Aga, Director of Thermax Limited, philanthropist, Member of Parliament, Padma Shri Awardee. So, ma'am, why don't I start with you? Thank you so much. It's been so kind of you to take some time out to join us at the jury meet, even though you couldn't be with us here. Just wanted to get your take on some of the factors, your overall experience, the nominees. One thing that perhaps strikes you about all of them.
Sorry, what is the question?
I was just asking you that the nomination process that you had today, anything that particularly caught your eye or your attention during this process?
Well, I felt we were trying to find women who have not been in the media glare and yet have done excellent work. So this was our idea of recognizing outstanding work done by ordinary people.
Ma'am, one more question. I know you have to leave us, so I'll just ask you one more question and before you go. Do you think you're starting to see a major change in the last few years that the number of women who are now feeling empowered to come out and start making a difference to the lives of others in the community, is that something which is really on the upswing?
I think women have made an impact for many years, but it's getting the media's attention far more these days, which is a wonderful thing.
I absolutely agree.
Okay. You've also done a lot of work in empowering women, so any final thoughts you want to leave us with before you go?
I think I personally feel we shouldn't make much difference between the genders, but because women are not getting the attention they ought to, a little push by having these awards is important. And they also act as role models for others to succeed.
All right, ma'am. Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you with us. If you have to, I know you have to leave us shortly, so thank you so much, ma'am, for having joined us. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Miss Anand, I have a question for you. How was your experience at the jury meet? I heard it was very entertaining as well, and I heard it's very. Manashi said it was very solid, a lot of debate, and it was intelligent conversation. And how was it? How did you go about selecting the nominees?
I think we had a very clear direction, and of course the process itself was entertaining and inspiring, in fact, because all the participants were actively participating to find the best out of the best. So that made it really tough. The nominees were absolutely amazing. Each of them, I mean, we had a tough choice, but we tried to get together to kind of innovate. But coming to the subject of what really we were reaching out for, I think the whole criteria was people who have achieved in reaching out to a large cross-section of people and innovation. I think, in fact, subsequently we'll find out, but I think science and technology, the categories, science and innovation, entrepreneurship, sports, some of these were the most outstanding categories of people that we came across, and I'm delighted at the categorization itself which you people obviously made, and the fact that of course Vikram and you are there would make it most inspiring to everybody. The idea is to make it an outreach for a cross section of the people, and this is not only for women, for men and women. Achievement is a hallmark of today.
Just out of curiosity, I wonder if it was a peaceful process or
I know,
was there
that's
some
what
big
I'm asking.
fighting?
I heard it was a very enthusiastic discussion. I heard. That's all I was saying.
Enthusiastic, or was it a bit more? Was there a big fight, Belinda? Tell us the truth.
At one stage, I did threaten to have sort of fisticuffs.
Fisticuffs. Not a walkout.
No. We were talking about physical.
Ranjana's almost threatened to punch somebody once on a big fight. Sonam, this is a
Well, it was tough because they were 14-year-old nominated. I mean, can you imagine a 14-year-old innovator? And then we had this very famous scientist. So it was really a kind of range from where we had to choose women. And it's very important to see how very ordinary women, how somebody who sold samosas at the beach became an entrepreneur and started owning hotels. I think discovery is really, really something which is very, very inspiring. The way you have found these women, and then it wasn't difficult, but certainly we had some area of disagreements, and they managed to, agree at the end.
What's very interesting, ma'am, is you said that there's science and innovation and sports, and you specifically spoke about those categories. And unfortunately, we associate certain categories or certain things with only men who are. So I think it's very exciting that we're awarding women in science and innovation and in sports. I think, we are very talented women. I think we should totally run the world, according to me. And I'm very excited that you actually brought those up. And, with L'Oreal, and we've been trying to actually encourage women in all vocations, and I think that's really cool.
Manshi?
We have to be generous. It's two male judges.
Yeah, I was a second male judge. So I was about to ask you, Mr. Srivastava, there wasn't gender, there wasn't complete, there wasn't gender equality on the jury. So as the one man out there, how was that experience?
Well, I can tell you, sitting there, I could understand how women feel in Indian corporate boardrooms.
Oh, that's lovely.
That's a very good point. Manshi?
But
We did have a discussion
How do you
on
feel,
that.
Manashi?
No, we had a discussion on the boys club and the fact that the boys club exists everywhere, whether it's in India or across the world. So I think Dr. Srivastava must have found it very amusing, but he did agree with us. Yeah.
It's very true, because suddenly it's a very different environment, so you feel that. But I must tell you, I was mostly hurt.
Well, all right. Of course, you had Pranoy for some company, even though long distance. And as Pranoy must have perhaps informed you, we are used to the way it feels in NDTV, because NDTV is a vastly female-dominated organization. So those of us who are men are in a very
It's
small...
very strange, but it's true. In the media, I've noticed it's mostly women.
Yes.
And which is amazing. And I think that's why the media likes me,
Absolutely.
They're all clapping. Okay, no, it's
right.
a fact.
Very good that you had categories where, exactly like Sonam was saying, where women excelling is not usually celebrated in business and entrepreneurship. It's happening more and more now. So I'm very happy that that category was in there.
So should we?
Just add here, you know, what is most important for us is that it should not be categorized only as a women issue or a women's section or a women's selection. I mean, these people are achievers. It's just a coincidence they are women, and they have made it, as you'll see in the course of description of these people.
Ramam, what would you like to add?
I would say that a lot of these women have made their mark in a which is commonly perceived as a male domain. And a lot of them have really come forward and have made such incredible achievements and incredible work that they've done. Be it in the field of boxing, or be it this or that, or, I mean, of course, we always associate entrepreneurship, and that kind of economic mindset. It's usually traditionally ascribed to a male thing. But here again, we found that amazing kind of women who have come and punctured male domains in all
Which is
respects.
awesome.
So should we kick off? Sonam, I'm sure you're curious to know who the nominees are.
I'm dying to know who the nominees are. This is the first year, I think, where they've not told me. I don't know why they've kept me in suspense.
Because
It's
we
really
want to get-
upsetting me.
We want to get your reaction.
I know.
You know, we want to surprise you. So now here's the surprise. So, Pinky, why don't we start with you?
Yeah.
So, Dr. Pinky Anand, the nominees in the category of science.
I think I like the category of the originals, which is a categorization of a larger sphere of science and innovation. Women scientists and innovators whose breakthroughs have created a new world order for us. The nominees are Dr. Tessie Thomas, who's the project director for Agni, Lalita Prasida, who has again done a lot of work in the innovation of biotechnology, Neena Tandon, who's again a biotechnologist who's done work on bone density and other kind of performances, Himani Kalucha, who is a young girl who has done a new work on water purifier. So each of them you spread across the spectrum of young to old and old to young, across the spectrum of activity.
All right. If we could have those names back, I just want to get anybody who'd like to give us more details about each of them and what particularly struck your eye about them.
I was just talking to Manashi about bone density, and if you don't mind repeating the name of
Neena Tandon.
I think it's quite amazing, because I know as Indian women we have a huge issue with we have problems with osteoporosis and arthritis, and bone density is a huge issue. Issues and everything. It's we don't absorb. I don't know why I'm going to the science of it, but we don't absorb vitamin D as well.
Oh, the
But-
science is because we are, as women, a little more malnourished because
Because-
we don't take care of ourselves first, but of the family. So.
Apparently, it's also
Yes.
genetic. So I think it's very cool because it's actually specific to Indian women. I know this because my mother and my grandmother, and most probably I will also suffer from it after a certain age. And I think it's quite cool that there's a woman only, innovating it, because a woman only will understand another woman's problem, right?
This is regeneration of bones,
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
with your own
Own bone cells.
Right.
blood cells.
What about Dr. Tessie Thomas, missile scientist?
Again, I think
yes,
Ranjana, you want to talk about?
Yes, I want to talk about her because this is one area where women have not really dared to enter and they have not excelled. But look at her achievements. And someone who's so simple, someone who's just, in an image of a mother, if you see her, she's so simple, she just is another Indian woman from household. But the scientist of the caliber that is globally recognized, I think this is somebody we really salute her for doing what she did to Indian science in terms of missile technology. She is the missile woman of India.
I believe when the Agni experiment took off,
Yes.
then you had women in Kanjivaram saris along with
Yes,
Dr. Tessie
yes.
Thomas, who were actually keeping everything alive.
All right. Anything to say on the other nominees?
Lalita Prasida, she has, she's 14 and she
Wow.
has developed a water purifier. In fact, she was a subject matter of a lot of discussion because, considering the question was, when you give award, should it be to people who achieved it, who've actually delivered, or people who've come up with something new? And this was the innovation that was acknowledged for a girl of such a young age, and hopefully she will make many more.
Corn cobs. So,
Water purifier from?
corn cobs. So therefore it's a model that can be scalable in many parts of the world. So, you know.
The concern we had is awarding her at this age, are we just raising expectations to a point where it'll be very hard for her?
All right. 14 years old, were you making water purifiers?
When I was 14, I was piercing my tongue. So I was rebelling. I was being an artist, I think.
All right, that's absolutely fantastic. So, those are the nominees in the field of science and innovation, the originals. Ma'am Chopra Narayan, would you tell us the nominees in the field of arts?
Well, first of all, I would like to mention that it was wonderful to see all the women, you know, who were shortlisted. And each one of them in the field, they have done fantastic amount of work in the field of arts and crafts. And what was important, that they concentrated on revivalism. They were also concentrating on the upkeep of tradition. But it wasn't only just upkeep of tradition, but they were making actually new adaptations. And therefore, they were also empowering the people and the public. And in this category, again, we had a fantastic array. And finally, the winners, you know, what we selected were Sri Jata Roy. She is, her artwork speaks. It is not that, you know, there is a message. And in fact, one of her artwork was quite interesting, that there was she showed women sitting at a chai shop and having chai. Normally, if you go to a chai dhaba wala, you have yes, exactly. So you only see men. So here it is, she's again giving a social message. Then you have Dayanita Singh, who's an excellent photographer and of all genres in photography. Then you had Neha Kirpal. Now Neha Kirpal was an amazing person, because she does this art fair, and where she has brought art to the people, and at the same time people to the art. And so she's done an amazing amount of work in bridging the two, art as well as the people. And then we have Kalki Subramaniam. Kalki Subramaniam is somebody unique, a transgender. And this transgender who has gone into the field of acting, who has also, you know, supporting their education of other transgenders, who has started painting also. And so this kind of a person who has been doing so much through the work of art as an artist herself, and as well as then empowering others and training others, sort of, well, there was quite a bit.
Anything to add on any of them by the nominees? Sonam?
No, I'm quite, you know, for me, since I believe that I'm an artist, as an actor, I just, yes. And honestly, I just feel, especially for women in the field of art, I know that it's male dominated. I know it. And sometimes, you know, as women, I feel, because we are so sensitive, and we have, I mean, I always feel like when you go through a lot of discrimination, or you go through things in life, you become a better artist. And I feel women, honestly, to me, are better artists because of it. And like ma'am said, that, you know, we shouldn't discriminate between women and men, because these women are actually pioneers in the field of art itself. It has nothing to do with the fact, it doesn't have nothing to do with their gender at all.
Right.
So it's quite awesome.
I would like to mention that, you know, it is a society where we do put people in pockets, but here is a transgender.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
that is even
That's
more the kind
right.
of a challenge a
Yeah.
transgender faces.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's quite, I was actually quite moved by the fact that Kalki has been nominated and she's been recognized, you know, on a public platform as a woman, and she's been nominated for the work she's been doing, which I think is outstanding. So kudos to you guys. Amazing. Thank you.
Have any debate on that one?
No, that's amazing.
No debate? Okay,
Amazing.
fine. Let's, Sonam, the nominees in the field of education. You have that list.
Yes, I do have that list. And thank you for giving me the education one. It's my favorite. Women who have strengthened our education system with new ideas, engaging techniques and learning networks. There is Shaheen Mistry, Pranshu Bhandari Patni, Safina Hussain and Farida Lambe.
Okay, so four nominees there in the field of education.
Yes.
Manji.
It's actually, we had some debate in this category, and I'd let Belinda speak about it first.
I need my
Okay.
books. I think you better do it.
Okay, so we have Shaheen Mistry. Shaheen Mistry, as you know, is started the Akanksha Foundation and also Teach for India. And today Teach for India has a presence in over 6 cities in the country. Also encourages a lot of young people to participate in the process of educating the underprivileged children. So we thought that that was a great nomination for education. Anyone wants to add on Pranshu? Maybe Dr. Dalal. Yeah.
Again, like science and technology, it is a field of innovation. It is no longer the traditional education of having a textbook and teaching children across in a classroom.
Right.
So one of the concepts was digital India in the sense of
That's
having it across
Pranshu.
classrooms. I don't remember which of them it was, but the digital
It's
classrooms,
an app,
which is an app which was floated. And the whole idea is to provide more and more education across board by improving the teachers and by improving the access to education. One of them, for example, gave it through a post office. So you'd actually have the lectures delivered to the rural villages where the education process itself will take place. And I think that stands for a wonderful achievement.
This was the only one where we had some time. So we had to do reselection out of this category. So, especially looking at this, how she managed to even train students who went and excelled at international level. So really coming from villages, they were trained, the teachers were trained to teach students in a manner in which they could compete internationally. So that was scholarship that they got and went to international. So I think that way, this category was not only innovative, but doing work through innovative work, but also that they were trying to reach out to as large population as possible of the students. So
Right.
this is something.
All right, Manji, you want to go into the nominees for social impact?
Yeah, sure. This is one of my favorite categories. This year we've called it the Daughters of the Soil. That's because these are about women who step out of their daily lives and make breakthrough interventions helping other people. So, and it requires a lot of guts really, because I think most of us are involved in our own lives and everything is centered around that. So these guys are actually going out and making a difference to thousands of women. The nominees we've chosen are Suparna Gupta. Suparna Gupta is quite known. She established Angan, and basically Angan works on rescuing children from various bad things that they've gone through and rehabilitates them in a holistic way. So it's a place to stay, it's education, it's rehabilitation and all of that. So we found that inspiring. The second one was Jyoti Mapsekar. She's from Bombay. Some of you may know she started this Stree Mukti Sanghatan. She's also a well-renowned playwright. And the way she's worked is that she's worked with waste pickers. So she's developed a model for waste pickers. So you go and pick up waste, and then there's a collection center, and then it's directed to various kind of industries. So she's one of them. There's Jagmati Sangwan. Dr. Dalal, do you want to add on her?
I want to add on Jagmati. I think with her it was a unanimous kind of acceptance to say, if a woman in Haryana can walk up in the Kap Panchayat and actually protest against a decision taken by the Kap Panchayat, without doubt she is somebody who needs to be acknowledged. What is important is not only the issues, but the time in which these issues were taken up and the manner in which she has. I think it's worth an immense amount of recognition.
Right.
Yeah. And our last nominee is Amla Ruya. You want to talk about it?
Yes, I think this was the most favorite category for me, at least. How all these women have worked so hard to reach out to, establish this whole issue of women's empowerment in the community, and especially, knowing the work of almost all of them, especially Stree Mukti Sangatana. I have worked
already with. Jagmati has been a comrade and colleague in every struggle that we have gone to Haryana to deal with Khap Panchayats. So I think this was a really very interesting and very difficult category to choose because we had really everybody was as important and has made as important
And
contribution.
Amla Riya?
Well, Amla,
Yes.
creating the
In
check dams,
Rajasthan, 200
and
check
Water
water.
harvesting and how irrigating and employing people and the agriculture production going up,
Yes.
etc.
About,
So it was
200,000
quite a
farmers.
holistic spread.
Irrigation
All right.
water, making it available to everyone. Yeah.
Sonam, anything to add, or should we move on to environment?
I feel like I'm not doing much with my life at this point.
But there's a lot of your life ahead, so we'll give you things to do in each one of these
Yes, I
categories.
know, I know.
1 month in each of them, and that will fill up.
At least in activist category, you have to come
In particular,
to.
we'll take you to meet somebody from one of the Khap Panchayats, whenever you want. Say when.
You have no idea what I'm capable of saying and doing.
Are you on? Is that a
You
dare?
have no idea. Yes,
Alright.
but yes.
Done. I'm going to hold you to that. I'm going to hold you to that.
Yes.
I once had
I'm going to
one of
take
my
that.
shows, I once somebody in the Khap Panchayat, this lady comes up to me, and that's actually strange how in some of those areas, the women are the people who are speaking on the other side. So she comes up to me, and I think you were there, Ranjan, I'm not
Yes,
sure.
yes,
She walks
yes.
up to my table, bangs on my table, comes
Yes.
up there, sits on my table, bangs on it, and says, "Tu mere meri baat sun," and then tells us why women should be discriminated against. So, there you are. Sonam's going to come and fight with them.
No, I've gone through that very
But do
recently
you know,
actually.
Sonam, that you are not supposed to even climb on that chabutra where all these Khap men sit? You know, so it's very important that you come, so they'll all empty the space and you can come on the
Yeah,
chabutra.
actually psychologically it might
Yes,
be
they
a really
will be
good
so-
thing to do. So, okay, we're going to take you up on that.
We need
They'll get intimidated.
exactly.
That's another thing. Yes. All right, Belinda, environment.
Okay, so this is about eco-revolutionaries environment. So what we were looking for were women involved in ecological movements, activism and solution. So greening the earth, saving life forms and resolving the man-nature conflict. And eventually we selected 4 people. One was Anna Kojol, and another was Ajaito Shah, Harshwanti Bisht, and Shilu Francis. Anu is an environmental activist in Odisha, and she works in quite a large area, you know, getting forest rights acts, forest rights for tribe, particularly people with tribals, and making sure they get their pattas and so on. Ajaito Shah is an entrepreneur involved in environmental issues. Then Harshwanti Bisht, who we found particularly interesting in what she does, and Shilu Francis, who's an activist in which state? In Tamil Nadu, yeah.
All right. Anybody want to add something to?
We had a lot of discussion in this
I
category.
think they're all
Miss
like,
Belinda basically leading fort.
which is great.
Especially Harshwanti
No, but
Bisht, who
Belinda
has
wasn't
climbed.
particularly swinging it towards the tiger front facing. That's what I'm saying. I'm noticing. None of them working in the
One
field of
of them was
tigers.
tiger reserve person. No?
Recall is the fact whether how much any project which is coming up is environmental friendly. So, for example, in one of the contexts of female hygiene, the biodegradability of the project was discussed as a major issue because it is something which should be established in that.
All right.
So actually the project was really good, but the biodegradable aspect was not at all. So, you know, quite interesting.
Dr. Ranjana Kumari, literature.
Yes, I think this was a very interesting category that not only the writers, I write therefore I am, was the category. Literature, women who are creating new forms, regional polemics and identity, reviving lost literature and creating platforms for contemporary expressions. So this was not just women who were writing, but the ones who also are bringing women writers up. So we had the nominees, Jaya Jha. She has something called pothi.com, very, very original idea, where she has presented almost 2,000 women writers on that platform, and she's been helping women to come forward. Then we had Shri Moi Piyu Kundu. Now this is someone we really discussed because this was something feminist erotica. I mean, Indian society doesn't really want to talk about women and sexuality. And here's someone who's writing about Sita and she's writing about feminist erotica. I mean, this is something very unique. Extremely. Yes. Yes.
When Belinda was talking about how this book has been talked about amongst the grassroots people in the villages and how it has made them actually more alive to their needs or desires or to perpetuate their, manifest their needs.
Yeah, so we had the other nominee Anuradha Roy and also Ruby Hembom. Now Ruby is collecting all kinds of tribal stories and putting them all together. I mean, this is something which is also very unique because this knowledge is getting lost. We are getting into all kinds of, different kinds of literature and we don't know what our indigenous people's literature were. So this was a very, very important. I'm very happy to announce all the 4 names under this category.
Ruby describes herself as a tribal publisher.
Yes.
Quite fascinating. So you can go to her and even if you have a verbal story, she can get it written down in whatever language. It's very interesting.
And Pothi.com was also very interesting that they were also getting books published.
Yeah.
E-books published and also hard copies. Yeah. And at very, very minimal cost.
These are all oral tradition. It was never written. So now she's trying to bring them out.
But 2 more categories to go. So, Saurabh Srivastav, business and entrepreneurship.
Well, like I said, I was really happy that this category was chosen. It's not an area that is associated with excellence, although the fact is that there are amazing women in both in business and entrepreneurship today. So we looked at all aspects. We didn't only look at financial aspects or leadership, but we also looked at women who were real disruptors, who were challenging existing doyens, and in many ways who were forcing us to relook at how business is done. Sort of scripting a sort of new social language for how you do for-profit business. So we were looking at a wide range, and we finally picked 4 women, ranging from Vani Kola, who's one of the most successful women today in venture capital and private equity, down to Patricia Narayan, who started in a very modest way, doing a restaurant, catering to offices, and built a business coming from very adverse circumstances. Then you had Richa Singh and Pabi Rabari. And Pabi Rabari in particular, very difficult circumstances in a rural environment, tribal environment. So really, I think very, very outstanding examples. And I think somebody said earlier, and I'd make that point now, it's not about these people succeeding as women. I mean, they've done something that anybody, man or woman, would find very hard to do.
Right. Sonam, any questions on this?
I mean, this is quite outstanding. I mean, business and entrepreneurship, so we've been actually awarding from the very beginning, and I have to tell you, they have some of the most capable women in this category, and they're very strong because I like you said, it's known to be male dominated, and sometimes women feel like they need to be a certain type of woman to kind of do well here, but we were very surprised that a lot of the women, like I can see Patricia Narayan and all, they are very they're innovative with their being themselves as well, in their comfort zone as well, which I think is quite outstanding. So they are trying to create a woman's world as opposed to trying to enter a man's world and trying to get into that space. I think it's very cool.
This one challenge we did discuss is that in this area, in particular, business and entrepreneurship, when men are ambitious and aggressive, that's seen as a huge positive aspect.
Yes, absolutely.
So venture capitalists love that. They
Yes.
love to fund people
Yes.
like that. When women do the same, there's a very different reaction. And so very often, it's much harder for women because they're supposed to achieve the same result.
My sister went through it. She was 21 when she produced her first film. And my father, unfortunately, was not here. He was in America shooting he was shooting in Hollywood. And my sister had such trouble getting finance for the films because, they were like, she's 21, and we had an outstanding script and we had something that was completely different. But even though, everybody thinks that we come from a certain family and it's easier, in fact, it gets tougher because people don't want to invest money. First of all, she was a woman. She was 21, even though she was in Stern and she came back and, she's extremely capable and we had some amazing things. But she was really, really judged for being a woman. And I mean, if it was a 22-year or 23-year-old man, it would have been completely different.
It would have been much easier.
Yeah, it would have been much easier.
There's a reason why it's very important to celebrate this category.
Yes.
And the reason is that you need a lot of precedents. So you must recognize. So for example, go back 20 years. If you were an Indian in Silicon Valley, you didn't get funded. There were no precedents. People said, Indian entrepreneur. Today, if you have an Indian in your team, you may be American. If you have an Indian in your team, it's much easier to get funded because there's so many success stories. We need to do that for women in entrepreneurship because the fact is you have lots of good women.
But she has proved herself
But they suffer.
Mr. Shiva, I just wanted to ask you that with this entire focus on Startup India and entrepreneurship and Indian Angel Network, is it becoming easier? Is there deliberate focus now on encouraging women entrepreneurs? But that would make a massive change very soon.
This whole Startup India thing that we've unleashed, this can be a real game changer. Because let me tell you a fact that's not well known. The only country where they've done analysis of this is in the US. And they found that from 1977 till today, except for 7 years in between, all net new job growth came from startups, not from large businesses. So when you look at India and say we have to do 10 million jobs a year, the only place is going to come is startups. So this focus is needed.
All right.
It's very welcome, and I think it'll be a game changer.
All right, great. So final category, and Sonam, I'll get you to, and this is of course a place where women have been making an impact and a very public impact for decades, right?
Yes.
We still know P.T. Usha before that. So the nominees in sports.
Okay, so the nominees of sports are Deborah Herald, Pavlio Busamatri, I hope I got her name right, Basumatri, Deepa Malik, Oinam Bembem Devi, I hope I got your names right. So these are the 4 women who have been nominated. You were saying that women have been quite public. I just feel sports in India in general, whether it's women or men, I don't think there is enough recognition. I mean, we're a huge country with a ridiculous population, and I think sports, besides cricket, I don't see any sports being relevant.
Although it's
right
starting to slowly change.
I mean, really slowly.
In some areas.
There is almost no attention paid to sport, sport as a field.
Yeah.
So there is not enough investment in it, whether in terms of time, attention, or money.
I think the point I'm trying to make is that in sports, you do have female sports icons. Sania Mirza, Saina Nehwal, P.T. Usha, there have been sports icons.
It's
and
beginning.
that's
No, it's beginning, but what Sonam's saying has a point that we need to pay more attention on sports per se as a focus on attention. I mean, even though when we chose the sports categories, Sonam must share with you that they are unusual fields. One is a cyclist, one is a football player, one is a referee. So, therefore, to have this entire, and one is, of course, having a serious disability who went into para-athlete, Deepa Malik. So, you're having a totally different dimension because, before Bend It Like Beckham, football wasn't exactly as popular as it was in India. So, you have developed certain things across the way.
Difficult category for us.
Yeah, it's very sad. It's very sad, and like I said, we are a lot of people, and we have all kinds of people. I don't understand. I'm sure that there are lots of talented athletes out there that are not getting the chance and the opportunity to be, because sports requires a lot of money to excel in the field of sports. And my request is, people who are giving away money for good deeds, I think you all should invest in sports, because honestly, being a sportsman or a sportswoman encourages a lot of good qualities in human beings. You know, sportsmanship and healthy competition.
Absolutely.
But Sonam, the film world is also doing a bit about it. Bhag Milkha Bhag, etc. You know, you actually
Other
developing
sports-based films are now starting to come. Maricom, you know, and films like that. Just wanted to, you know, tell all members of the jury, I think one of the things that's really great, and I guess this is part of what you were trying to do, is also nominate and honor people who aren't necessarily that well known. Because otherwise, when you have sports and you have entrepreneurship, you know, you'd say
Not the usual names.
Sania Mirza, Saina Nehwal, there you are, in Maricom.
They are incredible achievers as well.
They
so
are,
it's
but
also
I'm saying
important to recognize that.
But I think it's great, Sonam, that they're different people who are coming up in entrepreneurship.
Unsung heroes, always great.
Was that deliberate, Manju?
Yes, that is deliberate, and we've been trying to do it over the last 5 years. So every year we scout for you know, 1 fresh talent and 2 people who are not that recognized, and 3, of course, people, some people who are much younger, because when you get encouraged early, I think you know, you can go a long way with that.
And I think brilliant examples is under entrepreneurship. We've got on the one hand Bali, who's in the multi-million-dollar investment business, and then we've got Rabi Devi, who is right down in the village level. Wonderful.
So Sonam, now people have to start voting, right? That's another tough.
Guys, please vote online. Is it only online right now? It's online. So vote online. मेरी गुजारिश है कि आप सब जाके इन महिलाओं के लिए vote कीजिए. Please vote. It's very important, because these women need encouragement. They are only improving our society, and they're only improving our quality of life. So please do that. Thank you.
Alright, so that voting is going to be up next, but Sonam, there's something we want you to unveil on that corner of the...
I love this part. Awards. It's exciting.
This is what the award
for coming up with such a great initiative. which you are calling a philanthropic initiative, which is called Women of Worth. So I've got two questions. I think I should ask with Sonam first. Sonam, since this event is related to women, and India is an emerging country in the world, a few days back...
Darling, it's emerged.
Yeah, sorry. It's emerged. Okay. So a few days back, there an incident took place in Bangalore. A Tanzanian woman was she was stripped and she was beaten and she was walked naked on the road. So Mr. Arnab Goswami, he says that this incident proves that India is getting racist and intolerant country. What do you like to say on this?
What would I like to say? I think racism exists all over the world. I don't think it's specific to India. But the reason education has always been my favorite category is because education and literacy is something that makes people aware and less ignorant, and makes people make decisions which are a little more thoughtful, as opposed to behaving like hooligans and people with no and you know, behaving jungly. I think if I might use this very crude word.
It's offense to
okay, sorry, it's a very crude word. I shouldn't say, but very. It's a colloquial term that we use. But it was a very badly done thing. But I do not think it's specific to India. Racism and intolerance is not specific to India. It's something that is across the globe. So I don't think we should kind of say that it's only Indians who are like that. I've faced racism in the world all over, so it's fine.
All right, somebody else?
Hi, Manshi. My question is to you. So this is the 5th edition of Women of Worth this year. So how is it different this year or bigger? What are your plans? How do you make it different?
Two things. I think that this time we've actually changed the process a little bit. So we selected the nominees today, and this time all the nominees go on for public voting. So in the previous years, we've had only certain categories restricted to public voting, but this year people are going to vote for all categories online, so that's a difference. But I think the most important difference is the fact that we've tied up also with NDTV, and we think that NDTV is going to be a conduit to make this whole initiative and property larger and reach out to more people. So we hope to, in partnership, inspire many more people to do this kind of work.
Nirja as Woman of Worth, and if yes, then how?
Nirja. Well, yes, she was an ordinary girl who did something extraordinary because she decided that she wanted to do her duty. She's the youngest recipient of the Ashok Chakra. And she was a woman of worth. Unfortunately, at the age of, before she could turn 23, 2 days before she could turn 23, she sacrificed her life in trying to help other people. Yes, so she most definitely was a woman of worth.
Hi, Mansi.
It's great for people who win and even for people who are just nominated, क्योंकि उनको एक recognition का platform मिलता है. और in the past there have been many stalwart winners. Chetna Gala Sinha was one of our winners. उन्होंने इंडिया में micro lending पहले establish किया था और उनके अपने words में ये award ने उनको बहुत प्रोत्साहन दिया. Funds भी मिलते हैं कुछ कुछ initiatives को. So I think this is a good platform for them.
Next couple of questions. Okay, gentleman there, yeah. No, give him a chance, he hasn't asked yet.
Yeah, Mr. Vikram, can I just ask? So Mr. Vikram, just talking about the NDTV, and I will just like to ask with Mansi also. So since NDTV is I think NDTV is a channel of worth because it has given a lot of intellectual and fearless and dedicated journalists to the country. And Mansi, this L'Oreal is the world's most, I think, cosmopolitan company in the world, I think, which always stands up for its philanthropic, initiatives. So, just talking about these award functions, every week award function is happening. So just talking about the credibility of the award functions. What do you guys think?
I would like to answer that question.
Yeah, I mean, how can either of us answer it? So let's answer. Why is it credible?
Why is it credible? I have to be very honest.
Oops.
Phones are silent, please.
Yeah, I keep saying that. I just switched it back on.
The reason this is credible Number one is because these nominations have nothing to do with entertainment at this point, except for the field of art. I think you're talking about our other award functions which are not related to this. Women of Worth we've been doing for this is the 5th year that we've been doing these awards. The nominations are very strict. Number one, I'm sure that they had, like I said, a very enthusiastic discussion about who the nominees will be. The voting is also going to be public, so it will be for everybody to see. And there is credibility in recognizing women who are unrecognized, who are unsung. And this is to do that. This is not to, again, like we just mentioned, it is not to already give more credit to heroes who have already gotten credit for what they've been doing. This is for unsung heroes who are doing so much for society. There's a lot of credibility and a lot of thought and a lot of care with which we showcase these awards. This has nothing to do with me being Sonam Kapoor, L'Oreal brand ambassador, or Manashi being a part of the L'Oreal family. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with nominating and showcasing women of worth, and that is what I stand for. I feel this is what L'Oreal also stands for, and I'm sure this is also what NDTV stands for. So there is a lot of credibility and a lot of thought that has gone behind these awards.
So we've been doing a lot of work in many of these areas and fields for a long period of time, and I think ultimately the credibility also comes from the jury. If you see the people sitting on the stage right now, they are the people who've done the most amount of work.
I just wanted to add a line for everyone who's saying how important such awards are. ज़माना, उन औरतों की तरफ से मैं कहना चाहती हूँ, ज़माना हमें जाने क्या यही कम है, ये कम है, मतलब इतना ज़माने को बताना है कि हम इतना सब कुछ कर रहे हैं। औरतों के बारे में कहाँ कोई जानता है, इतना सब कुछ कर गुजरती हैं, फिर भी उनको कोई रिकग्निशन समाज भी नहीं देता है, सरकार भी नहीं देती है, बहुत मुश्किल से। और जब इन्हें खोज खोज के आपके सामने लाया जा रहा है, तो पूरे ज़माने को पता चलेगा कि ये इस तरह की महिलाएं देश में हैं जो इतना सब कुछ कर रही हैं।
Ranjana, we are flat out of time, but thanks so much. I think you summed it up perfectly. Okay, very quick last question. This is the final question.
Sonam, Bollywood में हमेशा से gender disparity रही है when it comes to remuneration. What is your take on it?
Pay disparity. What is my take on it? I have a very controversial take on it, so I don't know if I should talk about it right now. I don't know if it's relevant to what we're talking about. All I know is that I do not work with people who do not respect me enough to give me my worth. That has always been my stand. That's why I always work with directors and producers and companies who give me what I deserve and who give me that respect. Otherwise, I always take a stand and I choose not to work with them. But everybody does not have that luxury. So I am not the right person to answer that question, but I definitely believe that there is pay disparity, and it's up to you whether you want to indulge it or not.
All right, thank you all so much for having joined us, and the list of nominees will be available, of course. Wonderful, wonderful women who've been honored out there. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.